Man, it's been amazing exploring these UNESCO sites here at Paphos. Kind of bittersweet because this is the last episode. This is the third part of the UNESCO site.
But don't lose heart. We have so many more things to show you. And there's even a couple more Cyprus things, some nice road trips that we went on, and a mese, which I can tell you you don't want to miss because we absolutely loved that traditional meal. But today we are off to the Tomb of the Kings, which was probably my favorite of the three. So come along, let's go check it out. Hi guys, I'm Turtle.
And I'm Bear, and we are the Gallivanthropologists. We're a father-son team of traveling anthropologists, and we're going to be going around the world traveling to over 100 countries in the next few years.
While we're doing that, we're going to promote cultural heritage and ecotourism and a little bit of food culture. So please like and subscribe and stick with us because we got a really nice destination for you today. Another place to visit in Paphos that's pretty cool is the Tomb of the Kings, although no kings actually lived here. This was a Ptolemaic period burial design for the wealthy. So wealthy, important individuals were buried in here. And it was echoed also in Alexandria at the time, which was the seat of Ptolemaic power. So let's go in and check it out and see what a wealthy person from the Ptolemaic period in Cyprus got buried like.
If you look at this tomb, you can see we have some smaller squares, and most likely there weren't people in them, and then larger ones where the people would have actually been laid to rest. And I believe that the smaller ones would have been designated areas for offerings and like charms and stuff that they buried them with. You can see some of them are larger than others. Probably speaks to the importance of those aristocrats. I love how most of the archaeological sites here in Cyprus allow you to get so close. Like this one, you can actually like climb into it to see what it looks like. And I'm sure you guys can't see anything. Maybe I can brighten it up a little bit, but this is really cool that you can get so close to history.
And that one right by the entrance just kind of gives you a taste for what you're trying to do. We suggest you kind of stay to the left and then you can climb up this hill. And up on the hill there was like a really, really nice view of the whole place.
Yeah, it was really beautiful. It's like right on the ocean, so you can see why they would have chose this area to have their tombs. You can see a lot of the rocks from the distance. But what you can't tell is a lot of those rocks actually have like some of the earlier tombs. And I think those would have been really good places for the Christians to hide out, because a lot of historians believe that the early Christians actually went to Cyprus to get away from the Romans, and they actually hid in some of these tombs.
Right, and it was pretty far away from all the stuff that we had already seen. And so that kind of makes sense geographically, but the biggest point here is the beauty. The nice thing to remember here is it looks like it started as a quarry, and they would have come here and they would have cut away a lot of rock that they would have used for building other things, and that gave this nice flat surface. And into that flat surface is where they do the tombs. It kind of reminds me of like some of the smaller ones we saw, the Nabatean ones at Petra and all over Jordan, but it definitely was a cool place to crawl around for a few minutes.
We went up a little bit further and then we saw some really beautiful decorative walls of some of the tombs, which was definitely more like what we expected based on some of the photos and some of the research we did beforehand.
And these you can tell were little like shrines where they would put some sort of votive or statue of one of their gods, and they really decked this one out. And it looks like they were going to do the same thing here, but they just never got about to digging out the hole. I'm wondering if this was just like, this one was being built right towards the end of the period where they were using these, and they never got to do that. Another option is that this was going to be a symbol of one of the more important people that was buried here, and maybe his wife was supposed to be here, and maybe she died too late, or they were estranged when she died. I don't know, but it's definitely a cool detail that we haven't seen in the other ones. One of the things that I found really interesting about this place was a lot of things you had to go down for, but the down ones seemed like they were actually a little bit better done. Part of that is because, of course, the first people are gonna go right up to this rock face and they're gonna carve their tomb in there. And then if you wanna keep using it and maybe be buried near your family or whatever, then you have to go down underneath and kind of make a cave. Same rock down there, same style thing. It's just a lot of up and down, a little bit of climbing for us.
Yeah, well, we also saw a big grouping of tombs in like this quarry valley almost, with just tombs everywhere. And that might have had to do with being near your family and your friends. Everybody wanted to be next to each other, and none of those were down underneath. So maybe they just got to the top level before realizing they could go over here and it'd be easier to dig down.
It was cool, and then we climbed over this little wall and it opened up to an even bigger one, and this one had caves all the way around it, like 360 degrees. It's all caves. It did have some lower ones, and it was the very periphery of the really special ones.
Over on the far wall, you can see just from down below that there's some upper levels and lower levels. So we went up there. It's a really pretty view from up there, walked around, and then we went down some stairs and kind of explored there. It's really sad that you don't see a whole lot there, because by the time they actually started like doing excavations here, all of the archaeological artifacts that you could have found were probably picked over.
It's kind of like a Tomb Raider. You're down there spelunking through all these little tunnels or whatever. It does make me sad seeing places that were grave robbed, but it would have been cooler if it was fully intact.
Hi guys.
It's kind of like a labyrinth in this main area. There's a bunch of other attached tombs up in this section, and it's much more extensive than the stuff we've seen already. So I'll meet you guys on the other side. Oh, wow. Look at this one. I certainly hope we can get down into this.
And then we came across probably the most famous of the tombs, tomb number 3, which is absolutely beautiful. The cool thing about this tomb is it's really reminiscent of a lot of the stuff you saw in Alexandria during that Ptolemaic period. And essentially they had tombs that they wanted them to look like houses. And so we've seen some of them that look like houses, but this one almost looked more like a palace. There were so many rooms, the columns were really exquisite. So you can tell this was definitely a really rich family.
I really think it was ingenious how they did the columns here. It's not only beautiful for a centerpiece, but you would have to carve out just a little bit here, put all of your columns in, and then you could carve out in here so it doesn't collapse, because I was walking right up on top of this, so thank God it's really sturdy. I would have hated for it to crumble under my feet, but this did allow them a whole lot more space. And this was probably the wealthiest of the kings, let's call them, in here, because quite an elaborate deal.
This is really cool. I love that there's little stairways into all of these, but then they also have these little holes, and so you get a really cool angle at these tombs.
And the other thing about Tomb 3 was there was like all of these different crevices that you could crawl into in different buildings. And so it was more than one tomb, multiple tombs in tomb 3. There was like 3A, 3B, 3C, 3D. And in 3 dimensions, we were crawling around inside from one side to the other and just kind of having fun with the fact that we had such great access to this place.
We probably spent 20 or 30 minutes just walking around tomb 3. And rather than just give you a bunch of facts and talk over all of this, we're just gonna have you guys look and see what we saw with a little bit of music in the background.
And once again, we were spending so much time experiencing the grandeur of this one that time was starting to get away from us, and we had a lot of other things scheduled that day. So we headed over to tomb 4. Now it's important to understand tomb 3 is next to tomb 4, which is next to tomb 5, and then they kind of go in this clockwise order. It does not have to do with the chronology or anything like that. It's just kind of so that you know where you're going on your tour. Because when we went over to tomb 4, there were some things that were significantly different about it. And it either meant that those people were a little bit less affluent, or it meant that it was an older tomb. But it was cool nonetheless. And some of these columns were added, and some of them were actually out of the rock.
Yeah.
Seems more efficient to actually just keep them out of the rock, but it certainly was more decorative in the other one because they didn't. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I'm kind of like a cheerleader for these places, and I get so excited. But Temple 4 was super awesome, and Temple 3 was probably a little bit more awesome, and then we went to my favorite one, which was a little less ornate than all the other ones, but they had used a totally different technology for Temple 5, and you can kind of see like almost brickwork. And they used square columns that were thicker, and they just opened it up so much wider. And I'm a big fan of a courtyard, so it kind of felt like we were like in the courtyard of the kings. That's the new name of Temple 5, in case anybody wants to like coin it or something. Talk to UNESCO. They like me, I think.
And the last temple we went to go see was Temple 6. I thought that one was really cool. It kind of had almost the best of both worlds. It had the clunky, square, wide courtyard of like Temple 5, but it also had like a single ornate column in the middle that was shorter, and I think that probably had a statue on it, and that would have been really cool to see. But it was also very unique and different than the other ones, and pretty much all of these different tombs were different in some way, and so it definitely made it a lot more interesting.
And if this makes you hungry for more, I can guarantee you we were really, really hungry. We skipped 7 and 8 because we had skipped lunch. The tradition in Cyprus is this thing called the messe. And I'm not going to tell you very much about it, but I can tell you it's copious amounts of food. And we're going to do a special vlog on Thursday just about that and the restaurant that I think we ate at every night that we were in Paphos.
Yeah, that restaurant was awesome. Love the meze. I hope you guys loved this video and you loved our Paphos UNESCO tour. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And always remember to find yourself on the journey.